This week on a podcast from beneath, Sleepaway Camp. Billy, how's it going?
Going pretty good. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Mr. Poe.
I'm doing fantastic.
And Eric is back. Thanks, Eric, for joining us this evening to talk about, I guess, it was your favorite movie, right? Sleepaway Camp.
I am happier than hell to be back and to be talking about this movie.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I didn't realize that it was your favorite movie. I knew you had posted that you were watching it recently, but I didn't realize it was your favorite when I asked you to come on. So
That's awesome.
I don't know if I can say it's my favorite of all time, but it is up there in, there's like, everybody always says to a filmmaker, what's your favorite movie? And that's like saying, what's your favorite, star in the sky. It's real kind of hard to do that. And that was a really cheesy example, but nonetheless, the point stands to reason. And, then when you start listing, okay, all I can do is sort of come up with my list of essential films that like I cannot live my life without. And that's where you start putting all your, the people are going to start giving you your AFI top 100 or whatever. It's like Citizen Kane and Casablanca and all that. And for me, it's like Sleepaway Camp, Female Trouble, just this list of these grungy indie films.
It's like picking your favorite candy bar. Like you're just at the store and you're like looking at them. You're just like, which one do I choose? I think that's whenever we ask people that question, it's hard for us to answer too because there's so many great stuff out there. But yeah.
Well, here's
going with your candy, analogy. It's like you're standing there at the store and you got this shelf full of candy, and it's like I got the money for two, right? And there's 20 there, and so you've got to choose two of those items. And what do you go for? You go for the candy with the strongest, most memorable flavor, and that's fucking Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I was thinking today, whenever I rewatched it, I don't know if this is nostalgia. I don't know if it was when I first seen the movie, I was a young kid and maybe related to it more. But I got to say, I think that this movie is better than the first Friday the 13th when it comes to camp slasher movies. Am I nostalgic in thinking that, or is that a true statement?
No, I think that Sleepaway Camp, it kind of like had some, kind of pushed boundaries a little bit with the, with what they were going with. Like Friday the 13th is, it's not the first of, the slashers, but I don't know. Sleepaway Camp's in its own kind of league to me. And that's why I like it.
Billy, what do you think? Better or worse than Friday the 13th?
I don't know. I probably like Friday the 13th just a little bit more, but Sleepaway Camp is definitely unique. It's one of the most unique slashers.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I was more surprised of that ending than I was for Friday the 13th, finding out the mother,
Right.
But this one surprise was, I was like, well, I didn't expect that. Oh, wow, that's different.
Yeah.
Eric, what are your thoughts?
I think it's interesting that Sleepaway Camp came out the same year as Friday the 13th Part 3D. Because with the third Friday the 13th, they'd really sort of established their formula, and all of the tropes that we now know really came together in the third and the fourth films, not only for that series, but for, the copycat slashers. But Sleepaway Camp, rather than sort of borrowing the trademarks of Friday the 13th as they were known, in 1982, 83, 84, which is a masked killer who's wandering around an isolated area and killing off kids. Instead, they went with Sleepaway Camp back to the original Friday the 13th, which almost nobody copied afterwards, which was the idea of it being a whodunit, and you're trying to follow the clues to figure out who's killing these people off. And whether it was on purpose or it was by accident, Sleepaway Camp does not. It's the ultimate misdirection, because you're sitting there the whole time watching and going, of course it's, spoilers. Of course it's Angela. Angela is the one killing people off. You get absolutely no clues in Friday the 13th who the killer is. But in Sleepaway Camp, you're sitting there going, oh, this is so predictable. duh, I know where this is going. This big twist is going to be no twist at all. And the fact that you're looking left is why they throw this massive curve at you from the right.
Right.
And from that perspective, Sleepaway Camp is a much, much better film than Friday the 13th, with the exception, the one fact being that the chair jumper scene at the end of Friday the 13th with Jason bursting out of the lake is fucking classic. And there's never going to be a jump scare as effective as that. But there's never going to be an ending as effective as Sleepaway Camp, which the entire movie builds to and is seeded with so many clues that, unlike something like The Sixth Sense, which you watch it, you get the twist, and then maybe you watch it again and go, I see. All right, no one's talking to Bruce Willis. Sleepaway Camp, that entire movie just begs to be rewatched and rewatched and rewatched, because when you know the ending, everything gets creepier every time.
Oh, yeah. And, like you said, they kind of like misdirect you. She's, all these kids are surrounded by a bunch, there's a lot of creepers in this movie, like some of the adults that are there and some of the teenagers are like, okay, it could be the snooty, bitch girl. But then you're like, well, maybe it's her cousin / brother, or, you know what I mean? Like, you're like, maybe it's him, or, because he's real angry. He just like, he's like a short fuse. So whenever I first watched it, I'm like, is it that damn kid, or is it like one of these other teenagers, or, I just didn't know. I didn't really think
that's actually something I want to talk to you about. I really want to get your take on this, because the movie at the end leads you to, the ultimate conclusion that it was Angela, and the twist was not that Angela was the one who was killing people at the camp. The twist is that Angela, spoiler alert for anybody that has never seen Sleepaway Camp, your focal character who turns out to be the killer is actually a guy who has been conditioned by his aunt to grow up as a girl. Mm-hmm. And so the entire movie, with all these themes of sexuality and sort of, sexual self-discovery, become very, very twisted. At the same time, there are enough clues that you begin to see when you watch it the second time, not only supporting all of these, the fact that Angela being a boy was sort of right in the foreground from the beginning. We just weren't looking for it. But in addition to that, there are all these clues that maybe Ricky was the killer. Maybe Ricky, her cousin, really was the killer. Oh, and wow. Angela's only kill is of the boy who, Paul, that she's sort of dating, who the emotions and feelings she's having for him really sort of incite her freak out, because she's a boy trying to be a girl who may or may not actually be attracted to a boy for very confused reasons, and then cuts his head off and, flashes her wiener.
When I first saw this movie, when it shows the aunt, I was like, man, this woman's screwed up. She screwed these kids up somehow. Just the way she acted. It's like she'd talk and then she'd like put her pinky on her cheek and be like, no, can't have that. But yeah, this woman's messed up.
Yeah, that scene comes off like a dream sequence. I'm sitting there thinking, okay, is this supposed to be like some kind of dream sequence that we're watching here, or was that just?
Is it because like the way it was shot, like how it was shot and everything, and how
the acting.
Oh, the acting.
Well,
yeah,
did you? If you watch what I sent y'all, they talked to the actress that was the aunt, and she's like, I don't want to read this. This is not, And they said, shut up and just read it like we want you to read it. So that's why it comes off weird. They wanted that. Like the actress didn't even want to do that, and they were like, nope, we're paying you. You do it how we want you to do it.
They probably said that because like she did it like. They probably wanted to give you kind of clues, like something fishy's going on. So that's why they probably wanted her to act like that. Like, act like you're not totally right,
Well, in the beginning scene, like before we even get to that, I mean, in the very beginning, you just have like this little family. It's a father and then the two kids, a brother and sister. For people that haven't seen it. And they're like, what were they doing? They were swimming, right? They weren't fishing or anything. I think they were
sailing.
They were sailing. There you go. Thank you, Eric. They were sailing. But yeah, I guess some stupid teenagers again with the teenagers being stupid.
How long was she not looking when she was driving? She was pretty far. It's like if you just take her eyes completely off of it.
They should not have been operating a boat.
Yeah.
Here's a question I got for you guys about that opening scene. And this is something that I heard discussed wonderfully on the How Did This Get Made podcast. And that is, take a look at that opening scene and define the relationships of this group of people. So you got two guys, right? Two adult men.
Mm-hmm.
And the children of the one man would be a little boy and a little girl. Okay? Who are the boy and who are the girl? That's the first question. There were two siblings. There was Peter and Angela, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so which child dies?
Well, I guess Angela, the real Angela.
Okay, so the real Angela dies.
Yeah.
But they're talking about Ricky coming over, and the doctor is on. The doctor's sex is never mentioned, but the doc is on their way right now, right? So what is the relationship of the two men?
They're lovers, right?
Are they?
Because they had that flashback where Angela and brother were like giggling while wasn't her father and the guy in the bed kissing? Right.
So you said lover. I thought you said brother. Okay.
Oh no, lover. Okay.
Okay. I was like that would be an even more fucked up movie than it already is.
Me and your uncle are wrestling. Get out of the room.
But you got the two kids, and the one is Peter and one is Angela, and Angela dies, but what happens to the other guy?
Yeah. Golly, I never thought of that.
Are they like legally married? Are they just
they were
dating?
probably hiding their love and stuff, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, but then at what point would they ever be in a situation where they would both be in bed and those two children?
And they're not freaking out. They're giggling like, huh.
I get what Eric's saying. Like, what house were they in?
What is the timeline here? And who is Aunt Martha? And she's a doctor. So the one guy is like, hey, the doc's on their way. Meaning, is that code for this woman? Is one of them married to her? Was one of them married to her?
Oh, wow.
Divorce that happened from, the gay relationship. Is that something that she was like allowing to happen in the marriage? Is that something she didn't know about? Is that what made her go crazy?
So you're thinking that the doctor was married to her? Is that what you're saying? Or what you're
No, the doctor is the aunt, the crazy aunt.
Oh, okay. She's a code word. That's okay. Father. I got you.
So who was she in the relationship? Which of the guys?
Yeah.
And how could it be that if Angela is her niece, Peter / Angela is her niece / nephew, what then is her relationship to the men?
I got you.
It's real fucked up.
My eyes.
It's real fucked up, and it doesn't make sense, and the movie never addresses it.
But I think that's what is great about some things like that. It leaves you questioning, like, I never questioned that. You know what I mean? I just took, okay, whatever, she's the aunt. But then I was like, well, is that his sister? Or is that, and I never caught on to that. The doctor, oh man, wow. Now I'm going to watch it again.
The question is,
I didn't catch that.
What made her go crazy? And if part of like her craziness was that she very specifically, maybe her marriage ended before she was able to have a third child or a second child of her own or whatever. So she never got to have a daughter. And maybe she always wanted a daughter, and maybe that was because her husband came out and started dating another guy. We don't know, but the fact is, why is she so specifically interested in gender and
Maybe
sexual
they
identity.
maybe one of them were trying to get her pregnant, and then maybe one of them was fertile, the other one wasn't, and the one that was fertile died,
Or
and then she just went crazy.
maybe it was. Maybe
They're going to get her pregnant.
Maybe it was just her way of getting back at him.
Maybe she used to be the man, and after the accident,
that is a
changed.
really good possibility. I actually really like this.
Woo!
Well, before we break out the whiteboard and have to get pictures here, we were talking before we hit record. We were talking that I didn't realize that this was supposed to have been remade in 2018 to 2019. Now, if you were to remake it today, I mean, think about this. This movie came out, 83?
Mm-hmm.
And it already had homosexuality, transgender. So that seems like the perfect movie to come out today. Do you think that all that would still work? And do you think it would be inappropriate today to have your killer being the transgender at the end? Would that come off as I can't think of the word. Inconsiderate, I guess.
Not
like, you're making a movie about a transgender and you make them the bad person. You know what I'm saying?
No, because I think that having someone be a killer that is transgender, I think if I was transgender, I think I would like that because you don't see that represented much. I think that's probably maybe Sleepaway Camp. They like that movie because of that.
So you do know about all the uproar right now about J.K.
Yeah,
Rowling.
J.K.
Rowling. Her new book is about a transgender killer, and it's really pissing people off.
Really?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Wow.
I knew she was pissing
people off. It's also
no, I thought her whole thing. Well, I don't want to get too much into it. I thought her whole thing was because of her stance on transgender.
So, okay, then you're right. Let me just qualify what I was going to say. The fact is that it feels like all of her really gross dialogue that she's had with herself on Twitter about how transgender people, a lot of hate speech essentially from a really disconnected person living in their own fucking glass castle. Completely away from reality. And so she's saying all these really ugly things and not only saying them, but really doubling down on them, like really leaning into her statements and standing behind them. The punchline now seems to be, oh, by the way, the description of her next book is that it is about a killer transgender individual. So that raises the question, was she doubling down and standing behind her statements because she wanted to ensure the success of her, hopefully next best-selling book? Or is she that fucking disconnected from, any sense of morality and common sense that we're just seeing that all the stuff she's saying on Twitter, yep, that's her next book that hopefully you're going to choose not to buy?
Well, I guess it's coming from a hateful place. You know what I mean? Like if someone was generally going to make it, to answer your question, Carrie, if someone were to make it, I think it would be more, instead of the shock factor as in 83, you know what I mean? I think they would do it a little bit more where it wasn't like, this is crazy and all this. Because it's not now, you know what I mean? But
I feel like it could be made, like, let's say, with J.K. Rowling, if she didn't say negative stuff about trans people and she made a book, I don't think it would be, the criticism would be that bad. But since she's made comments in the past and then decided to write this book, people are
it's coming from a place of hate. It's you know what I mean? Like, oh, okay, well, you don't like transgender people and you got a stance, and now you're killer in your book. That's kind of shitty, That is
exactly. It's just it's kind of the icing on the cake, and I don't think you could make Sleepaway Camp now because for the fact that the shock value isn't really there at this point. And also, I think that any studio that made it would be really concerned about not pissing off or alienating anyone. The problem is that when you do that, you take away the entire punchline of the film, which you can't sort of soft pedal because it's not the nudity and it's not the cross-dressing of Angela. I think that what makes it horrifying, at least for me, is the fact that she is a boy that was forced to live as a girl. Yeah. That's the horrifying part of it. The fact that she's naked and, you know, has her Dr. Manhattan wang hanging there is just, that's shock value, that's effects, but it's really the punctuation on the real horror, which, going back to the aunt for a moment, as over the top and ridiculous as she is in that first scene where she's sending Ricky and Angela off to camp and they're standing there at the bottom of the steps talking, and she's totally over the top, and it just is like, what the hell is going on here? The next time we see that character, we return to that same foyer in the house. And it's right at the very end. It's right before we get the reveal that Angela is a he. And in this moment, the crazy Aunt Martha is talking to the injured little Peter, who is now an orphan and coming to live with her and with, cousin Ricky. And the crazy mom is explaining in this creepy monologue that is delivered with her same level of near histrionic overacting, but the delivery is skewed just to the left and further enhanced by the fact that if you look at that set, we are no longer in that house at the bottom of those stairs. It is filmed for whatever reason in a black box stage. And there is simply the frame of a door and the frame of stairs, positioned exactly as we saw them at the beginning of the film. But now it's like the memory is taking place in some stage reenactment, which just further underlines and gives one more example of the fact that Sleepaway Camp can never be remade because it is an accidental work of genius.
Yeah.
That combination of really high ambitions on the part of a first-time director and sheer ineptitude from everybody involved.
I agree with that.
Make that movie on purpose.
Yeah, and plus I think if they try to make it today, they would try to purposely put some meaning into it, and they would just ruin it. You just need that.
PG-13 anyway.
Probably, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it would.
They'd make it some kind of teen drama mixed in with there or something.
Yeah. Not as bloody as I remember it, but still some decent death scenes in this movie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, when Martin Landau got stabbed with the bow and arrow.
that is a cool scene. And when they talk about it, the behind the scenes thing of how they did that, that's pretty neat.
It was like split second, and it was like in his throat. It was like, oh damn.
Yeah, it's pretty
the
cool how they rigged that up.
The most effective death, I think, as a kid watching it, was whenever they find the kid in the canoe and the snake comes out of his mouth.
Yeah,
as a kid, that was effective. Watching it now, the stabbing in the shower when the knife goes down the shower stall. I think that's probably my favorite death scene.
The most painful has to be when I get scalded with hot soup.
That is my favorite one. That's my favorite one.
All right, the fact that you guys are listing every death except by cauterization in both orifices by way of a curling iron.
Oh yeah.
So I take it that's your favorite?
I think that should be everyone's favorite. I think people have never seen the movie that should be their favorite.
No, I like the scolding of
just want a burner.
Yeah, I like the scolding of a pedophile. That just brings joy to me. Yeah,
I gotta say those kills. I mean, they're really effective for what this movie is, and considering how bad so much of everything else is around it, the cook Artie being scalded, as you said, you're watching those blisters form on his face and oozing and popping. That's fucking nuts. And the part that you were talking about with Mel getting the arrow through the throat, for decades, they refused to tell how that trick was pulled off, and no one could figure it out. So fucking genius
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember how many times I rewound that VHS tape trying to see how the arrow went into his throat. Amazing. It's amazing.
They did some, and that's what I love about these older movies, older, but from the movies from the 80s. They just had to come up with ways. They had to, pretty much MacGyver this shit. Like, how are we going to do this? And then someone just shows up and knows, okay, I'm going to do this, or they heard how someone else would do it, talking shop with other special effects people. I don't know, but they had some amazing stuff back in the day that they just, take for granted. I think everybody goes computer now, they just go to CGI or,
They do, and that's why, I think probably whatever kill you like the most, there's some really, really striking things that are going on in the film visually. And the curling iron death is fantastic. It's the best one, but I think what makes it so good is that it's all inference. It's all a shadow play across the wall. You see the curling iron go open and go down, and then the two hands come up, Judy's hands, as she's flailing. It's so well done. And it's also super creepy because when that door is open, watch the movie again, or at least watch that scene again. When the cabin door opens and she's looking at the figure that's backlit, and she's saying, "Oh, what are you doing here?" And the figure comes in and kills her. Freeze frame on that image and tell me who that is in the doorway.
It looked like Ricky to me.
Well,
with a wig on.
Ricky with long hair.
Yeah.
So what the fuck is that all about?
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up because I watched the behind the scenes thing, and they said that Felicia's mother did not want her doing that kind of stuff.
Right.
So they did get that child actor that played Ricky. He did put on a wig and he did do all that. But then he was like, it wasn't meant to be me. It was supposed to be her, but her mom didn't want her to do it. But also, are they just saying that? You know what I mean? Are they is it just a mind fuck they're doing?
Here's the thing. You're absolutely right with your history on it, because Felissa Rose's mother did not want her participating in all the kills. As such, Jonathan Tiersten, who is Ricky, was doing all of whatever you saw close-up of hands doing a thing. That was always Jonathan Tiersten. And it made sense within the reality of the movie because technically Angela would have boy hands. Yeah. Now, the thing is, that backlit shot right before Judy gets it absolutely was Jonathan Tiersten in a wig. And every version of the film that's come out, going all the way back to VHS, nerds like myself have freeze framed and tried to figure out who the fuck that is, because it was always fuzzier, on tape or on DVD, and you couldn't quite make it out. It looks like Ricky, but long hair like Angela. But then there was also the whole added fact that it's also the same silhouette as Mozart, the kid they keep pranking at the beginning of the film, who had the knife and attacked Ricky with it, that was then confiscated and used later on to kill what's her face, Meg, in the shower.
Yeah.
So, but the point is that we all find out eventually, through trivia and interviews, that it was Jonathan Tiersten wearing a wig, standing in the doorway, backlit. We know that now. But the fact of the matter is that what happened, in the making of the film is what happened in the making of the film. What's in the movie is text. And so, thus, that figure standing in the doorway, we can all now see in high definition, is Jonathan Tiersten as Ricky wearing a wig. What the fuck is that all about? Because that's who it is. Yeah. It doesn't matter who it was supposed to be.
I get what you're saying. Like, if they updated it, why didn't they just kind of superimpose her? You know what I mean? Instead of just leaving it like it is. Yeah. I get what you're saying.
That was the only person Ricky killed was her.
He's like,
but going back to the nature of gender and identification, why would Ricky be wearing a wig? is my
Right.
point.
Yeah,
Probably because
why
he
does he need
knew
to,
his.
Oh wow, yeah.
yeah,
Probably because he knew his
even if he's
cousin was messed up.
protecting, yeah, but even if he's protecting Angela, he doesn't need to dress up as a woman to do it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
He's gonna kill these people anyways. They're not going to give away his secret.
And why would
Because-
that be his inclination to dress up like a woman to do it? I mean, don't most bank robbers put a ski mask on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What,
I mean,
why the gender-based approach to it?
Yeah, that's
Because
interesting.
I know that the
Maybe
only
if she saw him that it was him, she'd scream, like, there's a boy in the cabin or something. So he's like, well, she really can't see me.
Well, then on the other hand, he could have put a bandana over his face or something. You know. Who
Yeah.
knows? I know what you're saying.
right. Because
He gave her some lovin's last summer, and she rejected him.
the only
Mad.
person that I guess to me could have given away his true identity was the cook. Because I don't think the cook died, did he? I mean, he got burnt really bad.
He
He
probably
can't
wished
talk
he was
anymore.
dead.
He's in constant pain. He's always screaming.
He
Yeah.
hurts so bad he can't even talk.
Yeah.
So I would think that would be the only person that would give up his secret identity. So I don't think he really needed to hide who he was, killing everybody else. So I'm thinking if that was really Ricky, then I would say that he is also probably he was probably also raised that way to be a cross-dresser or something like that.
Yeah, before she came into the picture, probably.
Because then at the end, at the same time that Judy is being cauterized, you've got, which kills her, by the way. That's insane. I'm trying to figure out how that works. If that was like a heart attack brought on by cauterization of the yin and the yang at the same time.
Mm.
Oh, man, I don't know.
Regardless, at the same time this is happening, you have a group of like 6 very small children who are taken out on a camping retreat. So Meg is in she's in the cabin right next to Judy taking the shower. And so the killer takes out Meg while she's in the shower and then gets Judy, right? But then you've got these 6 very small children who've been taken out to camp in the woods. And the counselor has to drive them. A big point is made of the fact that he has to drive them because they get there, they start camping, and then 2 of the kids get cold and they want to go back to their cabins. And the dude's like, fuck, God damn it, I got to drive them back. So he's got to get them into the Jeep and then drive away. And he leaves the other 4 there in the woods. When he comes back, they've all been killed. So the question is, how far did he drive exactly? How did the killer get from those cabins then out from some distance that needs to be driven to murder 4 children that they would not know the location of, and then makes it back to the waterfront to go on the date with Paul and cut his head off?
Yeah.
There can't be just one killer.
There's got to be 2.
So if Ricky was the one that was in Judy's cabin, that means that Ricky also killed Meg, and then that means that Angela killed the little kids in the woods because they were kicking sand at her after she was thrown into the water. When Ricky was like walking her back to the shore, the kids are all kicking sand at her. So who did Angela kill in the movie, and who did Ricky kill, and why?
I think Ricky killed everybody except for, of course, the person Angela had, the boy. What's his name that she liked? Paul. Mm-hmm. And probably the little kids. I say those are the only 2 that she killed, and then Ricky killed everybody else. Because that cook didn't do nothing to her yet. Ricky came in there, and then the guy started getting rough with Ricky, so he killed him.
Yeah.
And Meg and Judy's been giving Angela shit, plus Judy, or whatever her name is, she's not talking to Ricky anymore, so that pisses him off. Bam, they're dead.
Well, what about the the guy that gets shot in the throat? Like what?
Ricky killed him.
Well, I know, but like why? Like because he knew that that he didn't say anything about the cook.
No, because he was already pointing fingers, like he's the one that was doing shit like
Oh,
causing
because he was
other
blamed.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
he
Because
was
he was
accusing
blaming
him.
him. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so he
Never
killed
mind.
him.
Because just that whole thing with the I can't remember the character's name that got shot in the throat with the arrow.
Mel.
Martin
Yeah.
Landau.
Yeah. So him not wanting to shut the camp down was kind of like the Jaws "don't close the beach" thing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you always got that guy.
But there just seemed to be more of, what I'm saying, like between him and the cook. I thought maybe he was also maybe a little bit of a pedophile.
Well, that girl's young. What's her
Yeah,
name? Meg.
Meg could not have been street legal.
Yeah.
At least not in the plot of the movie. At most, she was in college. But either way, this dude is like old enough to be her grandfather, and
Yeah,
she's
dude's like in his
really,
60s.
yeah, she's really angling to hook up with this dude, and she gets excited about it. And she's like, "I got a date tonight," and she, won't tell who it's with, but she's really interested in hooking up with this guy, like genuinely interested.
Yeah, it's
And she's
weird.
in the shower doing her little like marching band song and soaping up and shit. And Mel's out there with his knee-high black socks and cigar that he's chomping on. And so technically he is a pedophile.
Yeah. I would say so.
Or at least is walking the line of being one.
Just a creep, pretty much.
But
that's what I thought.
What normal person is like, you know what? This guy, he runs a camp. Let me get his number. I'm gonna go out with him. Like, what young girl says that? Like, guy runs a camp. He's doing big things.
People have fetishes, man. I don't know.
Her kink is like, man, these guys that run camps. There's something about them.
There's just something about, maybe this is an anti-bullying film. Maybe a lot of it has to do with that.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're gonna get
like
killed.
You bully someone, you're gonna end up, underwater, or you're gonna have scalding hot water on you, or an arrow through you, because all these people really are. I mean, from that perspective, though, that they're assholes.
Well, and that's the really interesting thing about this movie. Everyone is an asshole. Everyone is dialed up to 11, and there's not a single character who is not an insufferable asshole. Mm-hmm. And even the characters who aren't yelling and screaming and saying "fuck you" and just casually saying "fuck you" to everybody. You got characters like James Earl Jones's father as the other chef who looks at Artie the pedophile, who's like, where I come from, and we call them Baldies, and he's like, "Oh, Artie, that's you."
It just dismisses it.
Assholes. Yeah, just like these assholes by default. And everyone's just screaming and mean and, no one does anything that's genuinely nice. Even Paul, the kid who's supposed to be the good guy that's trying to woo Angela, is basically an incel, He's just like, come on, let me touch him. Let me touch him.
Yeah.
I'm mad now because you won't let me. Everyone is just a fucking asshole in this movie. Or has issues with sex, really weird issues with sex, parent issues, possible sibling issues, self-analysis and a knowledge of who the individual is sexually or whatever else. There's all this confusion and pedophilia and sort of hate and fear of the sort of alien, other sort of emerging, homosexual movement that was, really starting to explode in the 80s, and, AIDS following that. And the movie really is just filled with anxiety about every fucking thing in the world. And so everyone is coming off as this hostile lunatic in one way or another.
That counselor, that one dude, he seemed like he was the less shitty one.
Oh yeah,
the guy in the red shorts.
Yeah, the red short guy. Yeah, yeah, he was the only normal one, but it was like, dude,
everybody else was a real big old scumbag.
Get some better shorts. What are you doing?
Well, that was the style
There's
back
kids
then.
eating in here.
His character just needed a cape. He
Yeah.
just needed a cape. He looked like a superhero in those red track shorts and matching skin tight tank top that he was wearing and power mullet. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. But of course, nothing wardrobe wise can possibly top the cop who shows up in the middle of the film and delivers an absolutely terrible performance. And he's this youngish gentleman with a brown mustache that looks kind of like a hairy caterpillar on his face.
Yeah,
and then,
why
then
the mustache?
he goes and does another film role, shaves his face. They need him back for the end of the movie. I don't know why they needed him, and it couldn't just be a different police officer.
Yeah.
But instead, it had to be this guy. They bring him back, and they put this thing that looks like a fucking comb on his upper lip. Like a felt comb. It's the worst goddamn thing I've ever seen in my life.
It's laughable.
And then you don't question why they couldn't do that to Henry Cavill for Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
I'm a method actor. I only grow my own.
Damn it. No, I mean, but that's part of these movies too. That's what I hunted for. Back in when you went to the video store, you always hunted for a movie that you and your buddy could laugh at. Like there's some funny shit in this one. From the creeper saying the weird shit he was saying to the mustache, you saw those things. You're like, what the hell is this? But I think that's part of its charm. And I agree with you, Eric, that this thing accidentally became brilliant. Like some of this stuff that's in here is like, wow, they did it. They just got a movie together, and for some reason it was whether he had intentions of that or not. But they were talking, with the subtext. But when they talked to the director, he didn't really say much. He didn't give much away. So, I mean, who knew if that was his intention or not?
I don't know. I mean, if you watch, he's only directed 2 films. He did this, and then he did Return to Sleepaway Camp, which was made in, I believe, 2003, but they ran into so many issues with...
That's the only one I haven't seen.
It's interesting. It pulls a Halloween... in that it sort of disregards the other sequels that were made direct to video in the late 80s. Return to Sleepaway Camp is the only other film that Robert Hiltzik made after the original Sleepaway Camp. It was made in 2003. They ran out of money and couldn't raise the money to finish it properly. And then they finally got it done. It came out in 2008, and it is the second angriest fucking movie I've ever seen in my life.
Wow.
Just everybody is loathsome and awful and screaming and shouting and teasing and belittling and objectifying and molesting, and it's just so awful. Please don't get me wrong, I love it very, very sincerely, but you have to sort of look at the director at Hiltzik and say,
he's just an angry man.
Yeah, what was going on there, man? Is he one of those guys that is, real quiet, real buttoned up? He doesn't do a lot in the way of interviews. He's certainly not like me running the mouth. But then all of that comes out in his filmmaking, and there's just so much there that he is sort of just puking out this anger that he stokes the flames, and everybody else that's contributing, everyone on camera is just playing a loathsome character. And you have to wonder, I mean, again, how much of that is just all of these elements coming together the right way to produce these performances. But you don't really get the sense that everybody was trying to be unlikable, but they all just came off unlikable. Everybody.
It was the part that was written for him.
Yeah, it was just, I mean, it's like there was just so much ugliness marinating in the film that even somebody that doesn't do anything, outwardly terrible comes off as, you're talking about the Counselor Ronnie that, we're like, okay, he was the least shitty person there. but he just looked the other way as shitty things were happening, and he was in a leadership role at this place.
Yeah.
Then you got other counselors who are fucking throwing chairs angrily, and other counselors who are, ganging up on the kids that they're supposed to be watching over. It's, oh my God, I'm sure I've said it already a billion times, but I'll just say it 1,000,000,001. This movie is fucking mean, and I love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
No. So, like, I hate to keep bringing this up, but just thinking about this, like, talking about it with people, I've always just kind of watched the movie.
Yeah.
Was it normal in the 80s just to have, like, write a character that's a pedophile and just be like, oh, this will be a good scene? You know what I'm saying? Was it normal back then?
No,
because I don't think you're not gonna do that nowadays. You know what I'm saying?
In
Just to have
'84,
yeah.
Freddy Krueger was supposed to be a kitty toucher who then killed his victims. And because of everything that was happening with the McMartin preschool trials and the satanic panic and the belief that kids were being molested at these preschools, that whole angle was really downplayed. And Freddy was, turned into just with finger
A killer,
quotes,
yeah.
a kid killer, but the pedophilia thing, no, they took that out because of all of the concern for that. I think Sleepaway Camp, it retains that power because you got this, you got the Crying Game. How many other movies do you really have that are able to, play that sort of angle? And I'm not even talking about the pedophilia. I'm just talking about, the gender plot twist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I mean, it's good that the character dies. It's good that he gets, they get revenge on him, I guess.
Sure.
But it just seems like I just don't think you would do that nowadays. Especially with everything that's going on. I don't think you would even bother putting that in there.
I would think because, like he was saying, you had all that stuff going on, and of course the AIDS pandemic. You had the fall of communism, all this stuff, people, celebrating, but then also people kind of angry. And I think we're going to see some pretty angry shit within the next couple of years coming out just for, just how things are. It's like someone said it perfect. It feels like we're in a, like you said, actually, the Black Mirror episode, you feel like you're in a sci-fi film right now with just everything going on and no one's agreeing, and not everybody's going to agree, but to just disconnect from people altogether because they don't feel the same way you do is just crazy. And then the pandemic, and then our leaders not coming together and trying to figure shit out. It's just weird, man. It's a weird time. I know we don't want to get political on here, but that's what I'm saying. Things are going to be, I think we're going to get a lot angrier shit in movies anyway.
All right. Yeah, I just think, that's what I was just thinking about today, was just like, it just seemed like different subjects that they would have tackled back then.
Yeah.
And like no one really, what I'm saying? Like I said, if you tried to do that today, it would have been, what I'm saying? Like there's just no way people would let that happen to where it just almost seemed.
I guess.
Well, that's fine to do that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they were happy when they got an R rating. You know what I'm saying? Because they were so worried. They were so worried they would get like an X or something.
Oh, they thought they were going to get worse. I didn't know that.
They were like pleased that they got the R rating.
I'm surprised too because they had actual male genitalia on there. They just had the guy wearing that Angela mask or whatever the special effects guy came up with, which
is incredible, by the way. That
moment, oh man,
that shot is it's worth the price of the film.
Dude, the shot and the breathing, like and I was just like, that freaked me out at the end. I was like, what the fuck? This is crazy.
Now, Billy, when did you first see this movie?
I saw this movie for the first time 5 years ago.
5 years ago. So you were like because I saw it when I was a kid. Like I saw
I saw it when I was probably about like 26, probably.
Yeah, like I would have seen it when it came out on. Well, it probably would have been Betamax at that time.
I had the pleasure of seeing it on Up All Night.
Oh,
With
I
Ron
remember that.
Shear.
So the first time you saw it was edited then, right?
Yeah, I saw it edited, but then, you know, I
So
was
how
like,
did they do the scene at the end in
Yeah.
the edited
they
version?
just showed well, they didn't show everything. They just showed you know, that
So you didn't
scary
get-
face. You knew that person was nude, but you didn't, you know, it was weird.
Was it the full shot and they shaded out the penis?
I think
or
so.
What did they crop the image in to just like the waist?
I think they just cropped it in at the waist. If I remember, I mean, golly, dude, this was, I'm
Sure,
trying to
right.
remember. But whenever I was exposed to those movies, you know, edited or whatnot, I went to the video store and looked for it so I could see what they wanted you to see, you know. So that's the first time I saw it. I caught it on Up All Night. I think it was just, that was my ritual, man.
I used to watch
Saturday night,
that too.
Friday night. Huh?
Who hosted Up All Night?
Gilbert
Rhonda
Gottfried.
Shear,
Gilbert Godfrey and then
Gilbert
Ron-
Gottfried.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we
Fuck,
didn't
I
like
forgot
Gilbert
about that
Gottfried.
shit.
I
I used
was
to watch that shit all the time.
I was a hardcore watcher of USA Up All Night.
Oh,
and
yes.
I mean, it was great. You got Alfred Hitchcock Presents and
Oh yeah.
you know, maybe a Ray Bradbury Theater or a new Twilight Zone, and then you'd get the crazy movie that would come on at 10 o'clock, and then the next crazy movie that came on at midnight, and the next one that came on at 2
Oh,
a.m.
I miss those days, getting some popcorn, sitting on the couch, just watching them.
Oh my God, yeah, and the interstitials with, you know, wherever Gilbert Gottfried or Rhonda Shear was that night, you know, whatever city they were in and whatever they were doing, running around and doing stuff during, you know, between commercial bumpers and whatnot. It was great. I just can't, for the life of me, imagine how I missed ever seeing Sleepaway Camp on USA Up All Night, and B, how the fuck you show this movie on, when was this, the late 80s, early 90s?
Yeah. Oh man, it was early night. Yeah, it was like probably like, I want to say like 94,
Yeah, I don't know
93, 94, right?
I don't know how you'd even do that. That's insane.
It is that, but I remember seeing it edited. I do remember that, and it has to be up on. It was on that show.
Yeah,
Because they had Toxic Avenger. They had like fucking Troma's catalog too.
I just can't imagine this movie having the same impact edited like that.
Especially with all the profanity also. I mean, you'd have to be cutting so much of this movie.
Well, that's how I watched Toxic Avenger, and you know, they cut out parts of that too, and that one's pretty crude with language and nudity and violence as well, and they cut a lot of it out.
You did not have a good childhood.
Well, I mean, yeah, I did, because I got to see Up All Night, and then I was like, oh, this movie looked kick-ass. I know I'm missing something. So, you know, you would go that, or you had the luxury of Joe Bob Briggs telling you on TNT Monster Vision, you know, okay, well, this is in this, but you're not going to see this. So you're like, oh, shit, now I got to go to the video store and get this shit.
So we talked about the Return, but what are your thoughts on 2 and 3?
Well, you sort of have to divorce them from the first movie in a lot of ways, because they're not, Hiltzik sold off the rights to Michael A. Simpson and his production partners. And Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3 were shot back to back, sort of Roger Corman style, at the same locations, you know, with the same crew over like 6 weeks or something. But they're so different. It's really weird how different they are. But it's clearly an example of, you had Sleepaway Camp, you had Slumber Party Massacre, you had all these titles where there'd been a single film and now nothing was happening with that franchise. And all of these people like Roger Corman were coming along and saying, let's buy the rights to that movie because we can put a 2 at the end. And then we can bypass movie theaters, go straight to video stores, because that's a thing now. Direct-to-video horror films that debut on VHS. And that's what they were doing with these things. And they were, you know, there was no sort of vision behind them. It was like, okay, what's popular right now? Well, Freddy Krueger's popular right now. So let's have Angela tell a bunch of jokes and puns and whatnot when she kills people in very Friday the 13th ways. it's just so strange the way, you know, that's sort of metamorphosized.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
definitely don't have the story. They don't have the story there that you
Mhm.
get in the first one. I mean, it's like you said. It was just let's just make a part 2 and a part 3 just to make money, and we don't really need any kind of depth to the story. It's just going to be death scenes, right?
Yeah.
A reason to get her to the camp, and then she'll kill a bunch of people. I was really shocked to find out that the woman that plays Angela in 2 and 3 is the sister of Bruce Springsteen.
Oh God.
Oh,
That's
wow.
his sister.
It's real weird because you have Pamela Springsteen as Angela in parts 2 and 3.
Mhm.
And then in part 2, you've got Charlie Sheen and Emilio Estevez's younger sister, Renee Estevez, as the final girl. And beyond that, it's like all of these character actors who are playing roles that in the first of the duology in part 2, Unhappy Campers, all the characters at camp are named after Brat Pack
Right.
actors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like every character, even if they're named, like TC is a character, and TC stands for Tom Cruise. Everybody's got a name of that generation. And then in part 3, Teenage Wasteland, it's like you've got these two groups of kids at camp, and you got these tough kids, and then you got these rich, spoiled kids. And the tough kids are all named after West Side Story characters, and all of the rich kids are named after the Brady Bunch. It's real weird. And then you look at it and you go, oh, these movies were written by Michael Hitchcock, who later would go on to be in all the Christopher Guest movies. He's writing under a pen name.
Oh,
Now, well, also in part 3, Teenage Wasteland, there was the character who was also a pedophile, if you want to say,
Yes.
and he was played by the guy. I recognize him from Star Trek.
Yeah, the original series.
Yeah,
right?
the original series, but I don't really. And I think he was in Scrooge.
Oh man.
But I know he plays in a bunch of other stuff.
What
So I
is
just
his
like
name?
you know,
I
I just wonder if they done that just for comedic effect, or if they were really trying to just
Damn it.
have it there.
Are you?
His
Sorry, go
name
ahead.
is. Go ahead. No, I'm trying to think of the guy's name. I just heard it today too. Damn it.
He was in the episode about the kids who never grew up or
Never-
whatever on
Yeah.
Star.
Yes, he was.
Shoot, his name was Michael J. Pollard. Michael
there
J.
you go, yeah.
Pollard. That was his name.
Yeah, but that was
Yeah.
another. Yeah, they tried to, I guess, do that there with that. I don't know. Billy, you
liked
said
him
you've
as an
never
actor,
seen
too.
2 and 3, correct?
I have not.
Eric, should he watch 2 and 3, or should he just stay away from them?
It depends. Do you have any interest in seeing what happens after the final scene in the original Sleepaway Camp? Is this a story where you're burning in your heart to know what happened to Angela next?
There's a little intrigue, see what happens. But I'll probably eventually watch them one day. Could be 20 years from now. Could be tomorrow.
Then I would say the flame in your heart is burning low. And if
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
case, then it's not worth your time. Go ahead.
I don't think I'm weird, but if I watch part 1 of something, I have to go and watch the other ones. You know what I mean? Like I sat through the Hellraiser catalog. I sat through all the
man.
Yeah.
All the Hellraisers.
Deader and all that shit.
Oh, man. I got to 3, and after 3, I was done. I hadn't
Uh-oh.
seen any of them.
3 is terrible, but we'll get into those later. But what I'm saying is, with Sleepaway Camp, I was like, okay, I got to watch all these now, and I did, and I haven't seen the one you talked about, Return. I need to see that one.
That's the only one I haven't seen yet either. So.
Yeah, I need to watch it just because I'm a sucker, man. I mean, you put a part 2, 3, whatever, Return or something, I'm gonna watch it.
You've definitely got to. And if you're a
Yeah.
completist, and I am a completist, so I understand.
Yeah.
I sit down, I watch a part 1, and I'm watching all of them. But it's interesting because Sleepaway Camp has these 2 parallel universes, the same way Halloween has all these different parallel universes, because you watch the first one, and then you watch 2 and 3, and you get one story. You watch the first one, and then you watch Return to Sleepaway Camp, and you get a different story. And it turns into the question of which one is canon. You know, in the case of 2 and 3, they were made first, but Return to Sleepaway Camp is made by the creator of the original film. So it's definitely worth watching them. And if you can track it down, there is an alternate Sleepaway Camp 4 called The Survivor. And it was a film that was shot in, I want to say 92 or 93. And filmmakers ran out of money. And so these scenes have remained, just unfinished scenes from an unfinished movie. A trailer was cut together back in the 2002. It was on the first DVD box set. And there was a trailer and all the rushes were shown. And an enterprising filmmaker has taken scenes from the other Sleepaway Camp films and used them to finish and create this sort of weird hybrid experimental film, Sleepaway Camp 4, The Survivor.
Holy crap. I got to see this.
Yes, you have.
I'll have to try to track that one down.
You are far from finished with this series, sir.
No, I know.
All right, so Billy, what are your thoughts on Sleepaway Camp?
I like the movie. Like I said, it's one of the most unique slashes that probably came out in the 80s. One of the most unique. The surprises of the film totally makes the whole watch worth it. I really enjoyed it.
Mr. Poe.
My mind has been blown in this episode. Eric has opened up my mind's eye to other things. I'm like, holy crap, I never thought. So I love the movie. It doesn't change my opinion about it, and I love that we covered it, and I got to watch it again because I could, I really need to pick up on some stuff that I missed. But all in all, I recommend it to anybody, and like Billy said, it's unique. It was its own thing, and in a time when all these slashers were coming out like fucking clockwork, and they were kind of similar or whatever. This one kind of just stood up, and it was its own thing. So, yeah, that's what I think of it.
Eric, final thoughts on Sleepaway Camp?
I want to be buried with a 4K Blu-ray of this film. I am speaking to you right now as I am wearing my Sleepaway Camp shirt.
Hell yes.
And nothing makes me happier or made me happier in the pre-COVID world than going to a gas station or picking up a pizza or whatever random place I happen to pop into. And I'd walk in and I'm wearing this Sleepaway Camp shirt that has the cover art from the old VHS.
Yeah.
And when somebody just looks at me and their jaw drops and their eyes bug out of their heads and they point like idiots at my chest and go, "Don't Sleepaway Camp!" Like they're seeing something that they almost didn't. It's now confirmed it's real. It doesn't just exist to them because everyone they've ever asked about it has no fucking clue what they're talking about. Yeah. And it's like this secret handshake, and I love it, and I miss it. And the coolest people on earth like Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah, there you go.
There's 4 of us here then, because I love this movie. Like I said, I think I'd like it more than Friday 13th. Like I said, I don't know if it's a nostalgia thing. I don't know if I connected more with it because I was younger when I saw it, and I really couldn't connect with a older Kevin Bacon like I could these characters.
Right.
But I think it's a unique story. Like I said, the twist ending. I mean, you can't go wrong with that twist ending. You don't see it coming, and I just think it's an awesome movie.
And can I just piggyback for just 1 second on
right
something
ahead.
you pointed out that I can't believe none of us have mentioned yet? And that is the fact that when you said just now that you're able to connect to the film, or were able to as a kid in a way you couldn't with Kevin Bacon, that's because this is the only summer camp movie with actual children in it.
Yeah.
There are actual children in peril, or actual children who are protagonists, plot motivators, and instead of like teenagers who are 30 years old playing 16-year-olds or whatever, you've got 12 and 13 and 14-year-olds in this film.
Plus, it was filmed at the actual summer camp where the writer-director went to summer camp.
Right.
And me, you, and Billy being on the East Coast, this looks like probably every camp we've been to.
Yeah.
It just had that look, that, plus I like that the fact that they had to shoot it in the fall because the summer camp was out and it had that look. It didn't have that summer camp look.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, like I said, one of my top favorite movies. I love it.
Maybe that's why, I'm from, Texas, so everything's kind of, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre or anything that claims to be in Texas, I can spot it and say, no, that's not Texas at all. That doesn't, you know what I mean? Like
Georgia.
anything. Yeah. Like it has to be, if you're going to say it's in Texas, it kind of has to be because you can spot it. Like that doesn't look like any area I've ever seen. Not that I've seen every inch of Texas, but I can pretty much tell where they're trying to go with it.
So then what was your take on the last Texas Chainsaw Massacre film? Did you see the last one, Leatherface, the origin film?
Leatherface. Yeah, I did not finish it.
Do you know where that film was shot? Like when you were looking at the landscape?
We talked about it on our episode with
Bulgaria, wasn't
it? Yeah. It was
That's right. You guys.
BFE.
That's right. You did mention that on that episode. Okay. But yeah, I remember the first time I watched it, I was just going, where the fuck are they? It's kind of like if you ever watch the Tommyknockers miniseries and they're all supposed to be in rural Maine and you're like, wait a minute, this is New Zealand. It looks nothing. It's New Zealand. It looks nothing like.
It fooled me because I was like, wow, Maine's beautiful.
That's why if you can't film in the United States, you just film in Canada because everything in Canada looks like everything they filmed. Like I think the Mothman was filmed in Canada, and it just looks like West Virginia. I couldn't get over.
I didn't know
get over it. Yeah.
Oh wow. Well, I plan on broadening. I've been to certain places, not everywhere, but West Virginia, I do need to go up that way.
You do. I was gonna say, Eric, I noticed you had you had a Mothman mask, didn't you?
Yes, I did. And in fact, I was actually just having a conversation with a friend about how I need to go to, since I'm really into urban legends and monsters and stuff, and I always like to scout for the actual locations of famous cases. I need to get over to West Virginia and I need to actually scout out all the Mothman sightings. And it's something I've got on my list for 2021.
If you come down here during the Mothman Festival, then you can do it that way. They have more other things going on up there.
Right on
during the festival. So,
but I'm the type that I don't want to just go and see the statue and get my picture taken. I want to go to the old abandoned TNT area. And,
you can go
track
there.
Down.
Yeah.
That's what I'm into.
Yep, that's nice. And then you could, of course, you can go to Braxton County for the Braxton County Monster and all that good stuff. We got a lot of good stuff here in West Virginia.
Right on.
So, Billy, where can they find you on the internet?
They can find me at Basalt Wizard on Twitter and on Slasher app.
And Mr. Poe?
They call me Mr. Poe on pretty much everything. Instagram, Slasher app, and what's the other one I always say? Twitter. So, and then, of course, on B-Movie TV, Sunday nights, 8 p.m., Sci-Fi Sideshow.
On your Roku.
On your Roku, and be sure to download the video on demand. B-Movie TV Video on Demand is out. And October, nothing but horror movies, baby.
There you go.
All the goodness of B-movies, horror movies, so it's going to be great.
Yay. Eric, where can they find you on the internet?
You can find my 2 feature films, Roulette and Butterfly Kisses, on Amazon Prime and lots of other streaming platforms. You can read my mouthy critical analysis at Ain't It Cool News, where I write as EKM and typically write about franchise history and genre theory. Find me on all the internets as EKM or EKMYERS.
Nice. And again, thanks for coming here tonight and talking with us about this lovely movie. And just maybe a little spoiler, I think we talked about it earlier. You're going to come back sometime next month to talk about the Omen series.
Yes.
Looking forward to that.
I sure am. I love that series of films. I love coming back and talking to you guys. It means a lot to be asked. And I would encourage all the listeners, as I have before, go and leave a 5-star rating for this podcast and the other fine podcasts you listen to. And remember that reviews help push all of this sort of media, whether it's a podcast or it's an independent film on Amazon Prime, pushes it out for new viewers and new listeners.
There you go. All right. And you can find the show on Twitter, and you can find the show on Facebook. And of course, we have our TeePublic store where you can buy the our T-shirts, and we got hoodies on there. Everything is on there. Now, all those links are on our website, which I'll have linked below. And of course, there's a shop button on the Facebook page, which is the 1313 Productions. You can find information about this show and Aaron's show on the B Movie TV. And thanks again, Eric, for joining us to talk about this movie. And until next week, everybody, thanks for listening.